Okay.
And the webinar is now streaming live. We are good to go when you are ready to start the meeting.
Okay, we'll wait one more minute.
Thank you, Michelle.
And I see Elaine is in the room as an attendee, so she is here.
Okay, good. And we don't have Mark yet,
Oh, uh-oh.
the man of the hour.
We need our guest of honor.
I'll text him, Brian.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Should we wait for Mark?
Yeah, we might give him a minute.
Okay, and we have Mark now.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm calling to order this meeting of November 18th of the Conejo Open Space Conservation Agency. And may we have, I'm going to ask Director Chuck Hufford to lead the salute to the flag, although the rest of us can recite along silently.
Okay, thank you very much. Hand over your heart. If you happen to be a veteran, you're welcome to salute and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Director Hufford. May we have the roll call, please?
Vice Chair Bill De La Pena,
Present.
Director Huffer,
Yes.
Director Jones, absent, Director Nichols,
Yes.
Chair Skay.
Here. Well, now it is my actually sad honor to make a presentation to Mark Town. Mark is retiring. Can't believe it. And I will just start off by reading the commendation that will be presented to Mark. Whereas Mark Town began his tenure at the City of Thousand Oaks in 1992 as COSCA's assistant planner and ultimately served as COSCA manager from 2003 to 2006. And whereas Mr. Town's dedication to and vision for COSCA contributed immeasurably to the development of the organization. And whereas Mr. Town's tireless efforts regarding open space preservation led to the protection of thousands of acres of land, even while he served as deputy director and then director of the city's community development department. And whereas Mr. Town is now retiring from the city and leaves behind a long legacy of open space preservation, now therefore I, Rory Skay, chair of the Conejo Open Space Conservation Agency Board of Directors, on behalf of the board, do hereby commend Mark A. Town. It's signed by myself and Mr. Friedel. So this is indeed a very, very bittersweet recommendation. I know we have Elaine Hagan from the foundation who would like to make comments, and then I'll ask staff and then the board, and then finally we'll give Mark a chance. Elaine?
Hi there. Yes, this is bittersweet indeed. It's been a pleasure for me to know Mark since his early days with COSCA when I was a COSTAC appointee. He worked closely with COSTAC to help establish volunteer programs and projects that are still active today. And he took part in many of the events that we put together through the years. In 1995, Mark and Jeff Alexander made it through multiple hurdles to create the nonprofit Conejo Open Space Foundation. As COSCA manager, Mark was always supportive of the foundation's efforts and all the while working to manage COSCA's properties and increasing our protected open space. it's particularly fitting that Mark spoke at the foundation, at the 2019 Conejo Open Space Holiday Party, where he gave an enlightening overview of how our open space system came to be. And he had such a large part in that. It was a really nice presentation, Mark. We're gonna miss you, but you've earned your retirement. And we hope you love living in Costa Rica. On behalf of the COSCA directors, thank you for all you've done for this community and especially for our beloved open space. We will miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Brian, did you have remarks?
Yeah, I've worked with Mark for about 1.5 years now, and I can tell you he's more than just a conservation legend. He is among the nicest people you might ever get the chance to know. His commitment to conservation has lasted long after his service as COSCA manager as well, and he never stopped being an advocate for conservation and looking after his successors in COSCA management, me included. And while I've only worked with Mark for 1.5 years, I've been doing land conservation for 27 years, and I can tell you a little bit about why people like Mark are so important to the cause of conservation. And it really comes down to vision. Mark has a vision. While maybe he's famous for conservation, he isn't just about creating land museums, about a bunch of open space. He's about making the open space a valued part of our community and important in the daily lives of people who live here. And he knows that nurturing the relationships between land and people is what makes conservation permanent in the long run. Mark approaches challenges as if each is an opportunity, and he inspires his staff to take a step back and see the big picture. I know he does this just as much in his scope as planning director as he has done with conservation with COSCA. I know that now all of Mark's planners will always consider open space with every project. He's drilled it into them. Mark's always elevated open space, whether he was speaking with a community member at a public event, city management, or even the city council. So no one is spared the wonders of open space when they talk with Mark. Open space conservation is a marathon, and Mark knows this, and it's not a sprint. And his steady vision over the years helped make the open space system that we all enjoy today. I guess now he joins visionaries like Tex Ward in our local open space pantheon. And as he retires, we'll certainly miss his encyclopedic knowledge of the open space system. I see we have IT on our call here. I'll be working with them on trying to establish a green telephone in case we have urgent questions about local open space. Mark, on behalf of all of us at COSCA and the staff, we really appreciate you and what you've done for our community, and we wish you the best in your retirement years.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Friedel.
Well, thanks. I will try to be brief. I did want to go way back, though, before Mark actually came to the city. Few people may not realize he actually worked for the county, and Mark is responsible for putting together basically the programmatic elements for what became the Chumash Museum.
Right.
So the Chumash Museum, the Oak Brook Chumash Museum, would not be in Thousand Oaks but for Mark's hard work, and it's thriving today. That's way back before his city era. And then having been able to work with Mark while I was at the city and then as a colleague at the Park District, I can only say that he is a true conservationist. And as John James Audubon said, a true conservationist is a man who knows that the world is not given by his father, but borrowed from his children. And Mark, you've operated that way the whole time, and what you've done for the Coneos, you've definitely made the world a better place, especially for us in the Coneos. So thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers, did you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. So behind Mark on his left, you may see a mural that he drew. We have a lot of Zoom calls, and I asked him about that. And Mark actually painted that mural 30 years ago, something like that, Mark?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
So he certainly has had a long-standing interest in conservation, and he has brought that to life in the Conejo Valley. The legacy that Mark leaves to people in the community is phenomenal. I think everybody so far has been really eloquent in their thoughts, but it's about legacy. He's made such a difference in the community and in the lives of the residents here. So Mark, we will miss you greatly. And we certainly wish you all the best as you sit on your patio watching the monkeys.
Board members, Ms. Bill de la Pena, since I know you have to drop off soon, did you have any remarks?
Thank you. Yes, I am still en route to Thousand Oaks, and I've been dropping in and out, and I apologize in advance if you lose me. But I want, on behalf of my role as a COSCA director, wish Marktown all the best, a beautiful and wonderful retirement. And Mark, as you well know, I've been on COSCA since 2003, I believe, so 17 years almost. And I cannot think of anyone who was a better Lorax, and I see the background of Jim Friedel, and a better friend of the environment and the open space as you, Mark. And it goes without saying that I will miss you very much. The citizens of Thousand Oaks will miss you very much, and your passion for the environment, for the protection of the open space. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have done over the last decades, and in your role as director of the Community Development Department. And of course, I will reserve the remainder of my comments. Council says goodbye to you.
Okay. Any other board members who wish to make comments?
Sure, I'd like to.
Okay, Mr. Nichols.
Who's going next?
I think it's you, Doug.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark, it's been a pleasure to watch your career here in the city as you've excelled in all the different roles that you've been assigned. And while I know that you started in open space and you certainly have a heart and mind for conservation, I also just want to thank you for your role continuing all the way through as community development director. And not only have you maintained your I guess, inner self desires for protecting open space and the conservation, but you've done just an excellent job in balancing that with community development. As I've seen you, wrestle the issues over, saving an oak tree versus, developing a building of some sort, or heavens knows, a parking lot, whatever that happens to be. You always give it a very reasoned approach, and I know you try to mentor the staff as you've been encouraging them. That yes, while the environment is certainly worthwhile, that there are various community elements that we have to consider. And I know our council members Ed Jones and Claudia will attest to that, as they've seen that with you firsthand at the dais. But I just wanted to commend you in that role as well. While we have the opportunity, we kind of take for granted your role as an open space protector. Once you've got that bug, you always keep it. But the way you've been able to balance that and integrate that through all the aspects of various projects, and even in the general plan process itself, where you've been able to weave that through. I just want to thank you for that imprint, that thumbprint, that spirit that you've left throughout our community that goes beyond just open space and conservation, but really creates the heart and soul of our community. So I just want to thank you for that, and wish you the best as you bounce back and forth, I guess, between your adventures and home. And I hope you can check in with us periodically. But thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Doug.
Mr. Huffer.
Yes, Mark, I'm relatively new to the COSCA board and haven't really had much direct contact with you, but I know secondhand all the wonderful work that you've done for the city and more importantly for our community. So I just wanted to thank you for everything that you've done. I want to congratulate you on your retirement. I know I'm sure it's a happy day for you, but it's a less than happy day for the community losing your services. So thank you and enjoy your retirement.
Great. Thank you, Chuck.
Director Jones, did you have comments?
Yeah, you know, I got in a minute or two late and the tributes were so gripping and I thought Mark had died and I, you know, hope I could talk to him again sometime, but now I see he's here. So I guess he's getting his tributes and having his cake and eating it too. You know, I don't understand why he's leaving so early. Our first two community development directors, we used to call them planning directors. Together, we're here for about 45 years.
That's true.
I'm talking about Phil Gatch and John Prescott. And what is your tenure as director?
My tenure as director is about 4.5 years and as deputy 10 years.
Yeah, I think you owe us some more years.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Anyway, thanks. I've been on the council just a couple of years now. And I really would like to compliment you, Mark. I know that maybe some of my requests have been a little difficult for you, but you've always humored me and tried to help. I appreciate it. I know you've always had the good of the city at heart and appreciate it. And best of luck in whatever you're going to do now.
Great. Thank you, Ed.
And I'll just follow up. So Mr. Friedel mentioned your work as a landscape architect with the county, and that's where I first met you. I think I was on a committee or something. And it's been just such a pleasure. I've considered you my colleague over the years. You've been a great sounding board, your wise counsel. You've been a rock, absolutely. And I will miss you, my friend. And now you get to respond.
Well, thank you, Rory. And thank you, everybody, for such kind words and for inviting me here tonight. I truly appreciate it. When I think back on my time with COSCA, either directly or indirectly over the past 29 years, believe it or not, I really enjoyed my time with COSCA. COSCA is an outstanding organization. And I will actually, as I go forward in my life, continue to refer, COSCA to others if they want to see a model example of a great conservation organization. When you look even internationally, COSCA is right up there with the very best. When I first started with COSCA, just a quick side story. When I started back in '92, we were still really trying to acquire land. And I remember, my predecessors and John Prescott and Phil Gatch telling me and Tex, we need to acquire land while we can. We need to try to get as much land as we can. And, because these opportunities will not be here in 30 years. And so the first part of my time with COSCA was really spent on trying to acquire land. And the most satisfying thing that I ever experienced professionally was getting Texas' signature on grant deeds to transfer property to COSCA's ownership, or the city clerk's signature on track maps to preserve the open space portion of those projects. And now through everybody's efforts, we're able to really appreciate the almost 40%, about 40% of the city that is public open space. But for me, it was always a personal treat to be associated with COSCA. I've always been an avid bird watcher, hiker. My son and I spent years mountain biking on the trails. My wife and I used to take my parents hiking on the trails, well, on the flatter ones. And so there's a real personal satisfaction to all of this as well. But finally, and I just wrap up with one other thought. when I think back on COSCA, it truly is the people that have made it such a great experience and continue to make it such a great organization. The visionaries, the volunteers, the staff at the Park District, the staff at the city, the rangers, COSDAC, COSF, all the great work that Elaine and others have done. It truly is an amazing and an inspiring group of people. The last, and not the least by any stretch, also are all of you as the COSCA Board of Directors. Over the years, I have seen again and again your incredible leadership for this organization, your leadership on this board, representing the community and the public, and your separate time representing the city and the Park District. I just am so impressed by your dedication to this organization, the leadership that you provide. Just in wrapping up, just wanted to say that finally, the crowning achievement of my career is I've been made an honorary COSCA Ranger. I have long wanted to see that. Jim Friedel just brought that over, and this hat, which I had to wear. I've been begging for this. I don't know if the Rangers know this, but finally got that Ranger patch. So anyway, thank you all. Hopefully I'll see you on the trails soon.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
And if I could just add one more thing, Mark, just a reminder that you still owe me a meeting where we can get together to review the history of COSCA and open space. So I'll still get a reach out to that. And one last thing, I just want to say you're welcome for me leaving the city to create an opening for you to start. So thank you for filling those shoes.
Thank you, Doug. Remember, everybody, Doug preceded me as a COSCA staff member, and look where he is now. So see,
we're still on the same web Zoom meeting here.
Exactly.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
We'll
Mark.
miss you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, on that sad note, we will go on to item 5, which is the consent calendar. We have 2 sets of minutes, one from September 9 and one from October 20. I think we could take a motion to approve both or are there any additions or corrections? Director Heffer.
Yes, I'll move approval of both sets of minutes. And just as a note, agenda item 4, there were no public comments.
Oh, you're right. I believe I missed. Mr. Stark, I believe you indicated that no one had signed up for public comment.
Oh yeah, we had no signups this time around.
Thank you.
Then
Jeff,
I made the motion to approve the minutes from the prior 2 meetings.
Okay, very good. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, and if no other comments, please have a roll call vote on approving both sets of minutes.
Vice Chair Bill de la Pena,
I think she may have had to drop off for the.
Director Huffer,
Yes.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Nichols,
Yes.
Chair Skay.
Yes. So our first action item is the Board of Directors meeting schedule for 2021. Mr. Stark, do you want to introduce that?
I'm working on trying to get click on the right. So each year, about this time, COSCA's board approves meeting dates for next year. I've posted these up on the screen for others to see, and we just need a board approval of these dates.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve those dates?
Yeah, I'll be happy to make a motion to approve those dates. And I did have one question for Mr. Stark on what says if conditions are approved to an acceptable threshold, is that just all subject to public health? There's nothing that's magical about that, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. If no other comments, roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Bill de la Pena, absent. Director Huffer,
Yes.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Nichols,
Yes.
Chair Skay.
Yes. Second item is creation of an ad hoc committee on COSCA staffing. Would you like to introduce that, Mr. Stark?
Sure. Among COSCA's strategic plan objectives is to regularly assess COSCA staffing and our ability to deliver a high level of service to the land and our community. COSCA staffing levels are closely tied to our budget as well. Among our service priorities are to patrol open space and enforce rules, protect the natural resources, and maintain improvements such as trails, fences, signage, and other infrastructure. The size of COSCA's open space system has steadily grown over the years and is currently managed by a full-time staff of 9 with 2 part-time field staff as they become available. In addition to the expansion of the open space system, we've also experienced increased growth in our visitor numbers and usage of these areas. And this started early in the pandemic in March and it's continued to this date. And even now, we're still, year over year, we're still seeing a higher level of use. We believe that the popularity of open space will continue to be strong because open space offers so much to the community in terms of physical and mental health. And I think that once people get out there and enjoy it, they get hooked. It's been several years since the last review of COSCA staffing, and we'll soon also begin the process of establishing a budget for the fiscal year starting in July 2021 and extending through 2023. So now is an appropriate time to review COSCA's capacity, and staff recommends forming an ad hoc committee of the board to work with staff to do a review. The scope of work for this committee will be to review the current scope of staff resources in comparison to strategic goals and desired levels of service, and to consider the potential staffing adjustments, including strategies to align budget and staff capacity with our strategic goals. So the recommendation is to create an ad hoc committee with a member from the city side and a member from the CRPD side.
All right, so two members. Do we have a volunteer from the Park District side to be on this ad hoc committee? Director Heffer, thank you. And Director Jones, since Director Bill de la Pena is off the call right now, I think by default you will be on the committee if you choose to accept.
I hope she's not offended by that. She has seniority over me.
Okay, well, I think it probably could. I don't think the nominations are hard and fast, are they? If there was a desire to switch off.
I'll be glad to serve.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept the ad hoc committee? Director Heffer, thank you.
I'll move approval of staff recommendation to establish the ad hoc committee to study COSCA staffing and funding mechanisms with the 2 COSCA board members as stated.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll be happy to second that, Madam Chair. And while I have a minute, I just wanted to say that I think this is very timely, as we just heard from Mark Town, and we've discussed this in the past, where acquisition was at the forefront of this agency for many, many years or decades. And now we've heard with Mr. Stark on board, where we're trying to get into more of the conservation mode, so to speak, and the management, especially with the changes. So I think this is very timely. I know the challenges are there, whether it be the appropriate staffing or funding mechanisms or whatever, but I look forward to hearing the constructive input from our ad hoc members and have some good discussion over this. So thank you for bringing this forward. I look forward to getting some good information from this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Yes, I totally agree. We are in a different mode now. It's the stewardship and management are really taking precedence. And so we need to really address that. So thank you, team, for agreeing in advance. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Vice Chair Bill de la Pena, absent. Director Huffer?
Yes.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
Chair Skay?
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll go to COSCA updates. Do we have an update from you, Mr. Friedel, on CRPD?
I actually do. One was, and I really wish Mark was still on the call is the uncanny resemblance he actually has to the Lorax, if you ever saw them side by side. So I just thought Marktown looks a lot like the Lorax.
What is the Lorax?
He's the guy that speaks for the trees, Dr. Seuss.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and then I wanted to say from CRPD, thanks so much. The city did a much bigger pulling ore in terms of preparing and responding to the wildland urban interface questions that some folks had raised, and pulling together that meeting and putting together some really great responses on the website and all that kind of stuff. So thanks to Brian and Gary and Spikerman at the fire district, that I thought went really well. And then tomorrow night, the Conejo Rec and Park District has a special meeting. It's our normal Thursday, but we're holding it at 4 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. And we're going to be talking about essentially trying to upgrade and deal with a almost 60-year-old building in the Conejo Community Center. So that's, we're going to get this, the public will get to see the elevations and comment on kind of that project. So that's really a big deal for CRPD. And the reason we're having it at 4 instead of our normal 6 o'clock time is that at 6, we will be on the city's general plan advisory committee meeting. So it's the park and open space night. And we're really excited and grateful that the city is having the topic of parks and open space and including us in the process. So thanks to our city colleagues for that. That's it from CRPD.
Okay, thank you. And we did skip over 7, but let me go to Gary. If you have any city updates.
Sure. As Jim just mentioned, the GPAC is meeting tomorrow evening. Parks and open space element is going to be the theme. You certainly, representatives on this call might want to listen in just to hear the feedback from the community and the discussion that's going to occur at the GPAC. It looks to be an interesting night.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on the committee, so I'll be there.
Yes, yes.
Good.
I'll be there too.
Okay, let's go back to item 7A, the COSCA Volunteer Core Activity Report. Is that you, Mr. Stark?
Yes. So we have reports through September and October of 2020. Our Trail Watch volunteers filed 53 reports, logging about 86 hours out on the trails. And our adopted trail volunteers submitted 26 reports with almost 50 hours out there. For those that aren't aware, these volunteer programs are a big part of our eyes and ears at COSCA to give us information about what's going on out on the land. And the information we get from our volunteer reports goes directly to rangers, where project ideas generate and get prioritized. So we're appreciative of all of our volunteers that make a big difference for us.
Any questions on the volunteer activity? Hearing none, let's go to Mr. Kuba on ranger operations and maintenance activities.
Thank you very much. And this evening, we're starting off with a spreadsheet of the work that the Rangers have been doing. We've gotten a little bit fancier from our whiteboard. The Rangers are still using the whiteboard, but we're digitizing it into Excel with the help of Brian. Next slide, Brian. And what we're trying to do is track the work that's going on from the volunteer reports, from public reports, bigger projects that we want to get done, and even little things. So we're trying to track all of that next. But there's always the ongoing situation. So the Rangers spent almost half of their time in the last month addressing homeless situations next. And this was a large encampment, multi-encampment adjacent to the Green Meadow area next. And it took about 3 days with 4 rangers working on it, filled up the stake site multiple times next. that's what tired, happy Rangers look like.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was a tough couple days, but they got it done, and it's a much better thing. And hopefully the area rehabs. Go ahead to the next one, Brian. And then another thing is a lot of illegal dumping. In this case, chips from tree trimming services. So the rangers have been out. They hit it with a tractor first and knocked down the bigger piles, and then you just got to go to wheelbarrows and shovels. So next. Okay, some trail stuff that's been going on. We've had some bicycle speed complaints, so we've been trying to get a little bit of more analog information out to the public about being responsible. We're expanding our bike bell program, and so you'll see some new bike bell boxes in other locations soon. Go ahead, next. One real quick, meaning basically 3 hours of trail work that happened this week, this month, was the reestablishment of the Grasshopper Trail in Rancho Potrero, which runs right behind the equestrian area, and creates a nice short loop for the equestrians there. And since it was a reestablishment, basically all it had to do was get mowed with the brush trimmers. Next. The other concentration that's going on is damp, and that's the Drainage Action Management Plan. So throughout the city, as our drainage ditches, such as this V ditch in the photo, and it's mapped off of the GIS, and you see that on the left side, and they are inspected. A work plan is developed, then they are cleaned by the rangers and through the crew out of Ojai. And we're about halfway done with that. We're hoping the rain holds off for another 2 to 3 weeks before we finish, but we're pretty close. We've hit all the big ones, so it's looking good. And next. And as always, we end with a sunset. But this sunset, I want to say thanks to Mark. I know he's not on here anymore, but you know, when I started as a ranger, that was when I first met Mark 22 years ago. And I speak for the Rangers, and I want to say thank you to Mark Town for giving us such a beautiful office to work in.
Oh, thank you so much, Matt. Any questions on Ranger operations?
Yes, I just had one question. There was a
Yes.
follow-up to the articles that we've read and the activities we've seen with the increase of use and abuse of open space and trails. And when I saw the ditch there, I noticed some graffiti in the ditch, which reminded me that there's some issues at the Arroyo or the Barranca. I just want to know if that's stabilized or if that's continuing to be an increased problem, or how's that graffiti problem stand at this time?
It's a long-term ongoing problem from back when I was a ranger, and it continues. We've tried a wide variety of ways to curb the problem there, and it's a very difficult situation to get a handle on.
One thinks of Hercules and the Augean stables. I mean, the tasks are, I'm just so impressed with how much work your crews can get done, and it just keeps on going. Thank you so much. Okay, board member comments. Any comments on matters? Yes, Director Heffer.
Yes, I had one comment that I wanted to make when you were talking about volunteers. I think it was a month or so ago, I happened by the trailhead at Wildwood, and it was one of those brutally hot Saturday mornings, and several of the COSCA or foundation folks were out at the trailhead and making sure that people had water. And you mentioned the bells, and they were handing out these cute little bells particularly to the cyclists, but to everybody who was going out. So thanks to the volunteers for doing that. And then Director Jones sounded like he wasn't familiar with the Lorax. So just for your great grandchildren, Ed, this is the book by Dr. Seuss reading about the Lorax. So you might look up that book for those great grandkids.
Chuck, I'll never forget. I wanted to say something to Jim. Before you tear down that building over in Hendricks, you should know that the roof of that building was put on by the Thousand Oaks Rotary Club. So you have a little reverence when you tear it apart if you're going to do that.
Right.
And actually, that's the exact kind of comments we want. We do have some actual plans for some historical sort of preservation / interpretation of some of the history of the building. So it's going to be kind of cool.
And as I recall, it was actually established, it was a county park that turned over to the city. Is that right?
Yeah, we had it when I was on the Board of Supervisors. It was a county park, and we kept trying to give it to Tex, but he wanted money with it. He wasn't happy.
He's a smart man.
Get the park. And one little anecdote about that: the people that didn't have air conditioning, and the people that used to work out there in the summer complained about the heat. And I couldn't get anything through the Board of Supervisors to put in central air because the building originally had cost $10,000 and the central air was going to be $40,000. And I thought that was a bad ratio. And so I asked the Public Works Director what I could do on or what he could do on his own signature without going to the board. And he said he could spend $15,000. So I said, how many of those little wall units could you get? He said, well, $15,000, I could get 5 or 6 of them. I said, well, just put those in the walls. So they did.
Yep.
And maybe you can help us out by recruiting the Rotary Club again to put a roof on the new building.
Yeah.
Well, the guys that put that roof on were young then. They're either dead or very old now. So,
well, they can just offer some financial assistance. We'll take that too.
There you go.
well, I'm not in that club anymore. So,
Oh. All right. Any Rotary members listening, send your checks to CRPD.
yeah.
Very good. All right. Any other board member comments? If not, we will adjourn to our next meeting, which will be February 10th. So happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, happy New Year. And thank you very much to the staff and to the board for your continuing involvement. So long.
Thank you so much.
Night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Happy Thanksgiving,
everybody.
Likewise.